This episode is an ESL listening practice for intermediate learners. You will hear a natural conversation with clear pronunciation and everyday English. No tests, no pressure, just listening. Let's start.
Hello and welcome to ESL Listening Practice. This is the show where we kind of strip away the textbook. We ignore the boring grammar drills, and we really focus on the one skill that actually makes you feel fluent.
Listening.
Listening, exactly. And if you're tuning in today, I'm going to guess I probably know a little bit about you.
Okay.
You're probably pretty good at English already. You know, you can read a news article without too much trouble.
Right.
You can write a solid email to a colleague or a friend. You definitely know your past perfect from your present continuous, and you probably have a decent vocabulary.
You're at that B2 level.
Yes, that intermediate B2 level where you feel competent. Right up until you turn on the TV.
It is the classic plateau, isn't it?
It really is.
You feel like a master in the classroom or, when you're reading a blog post, but the real world just sounds like a wall of noise.
Yeah, a total wall of noise.
And it's so frustrating because you feel like you've put in the work, but the reward, actually understanding native speakers, it just feels out of reach.
It does.
And today, we are tackling the biggest crutch that keeps learners stuck right on that plateau.
Subtitles.
Subtitles.
Oh, the panic button. I think every single language learner knows that specific feeling.
That cold dread.
Yes. You're watching a movie, you're feeling good, you're reading along at the bottom of the screen, you're getting the jokes, you're following the plot. Then maybe you accidentally hit the wrong button on the remote, or the file doesn't have subtitles, and they just disappear.
And suddenly it's a completely different language.
It's like the actors are speaking an alien language. It's physically stressful.
It is a moment of pure stress. And what we want to talk about today is, how to move past that.
Boy.
We want to take you from reading a movie to actually hearing it. Because the reality is that while subtitles are a great safety net when you're a beginner.
Sure, they're essential at first.
They are. But they can become a massive barrier to real fluency if you rely on them for too long. They stop being a help and they start being a hindrance.
It's comfortable, though. That's the problem. It feels safe.
Of course.
It's like riding a bike with training wheels. You feel like you're riding, but are you actually balancing? Are you really doing the work yourself?
That is the perfect analogy. I was just about to say that.
Right.
When you have training wheels, your body doesn't learn all those tiny micro adjustments you need to stay upright.
Yeah.
And when you have subtitles, your ears don't learn the micro adjustments needed to parse what we call connected speech.
So we're here to push you out of the nest a little bit.
Gently.
Gently, of course. We are going to unlock movies today. We're going to talk about how to ditch those subtitles and use films to boost your fluency in a way that feels natural, not terrifying. Why is it so scary? Why does turning off that text feel like you're jumping off a cliff for an intermediate learner? I mean, we know the words. If we saw them written down, we'd understand them. Why does the audio just scramble our brains?
Well, it's largely about how we're taught and how our brains are wired during the learning process itself.
Okay.
I mean, think about your history with English. Most of us learn through our eyes first, right?
Yeah, textbooks, whiteboards.
You see the words in a textbook, you write them on the board, you make flashcards. So your brain connects the concept of the language to the visual shape of the word, not the sound. So when you take the text away, you are removing the primary anchor you have used for years and years to make sense of the data.
And it feels like the audio speed doubles, doesn't it?
It does.
As soon as the text is gone, the actors seem to speak twice as fast.
Yeah.
I have experienced this myself learning other languages.
It's a fascinating psychological trick. They aren't speaking faster, obviously. The audio file is identical.
Right.
But your brain is processing slower because it can't cheat by reading ahead. When you have subtitles on, you're often reading the punchline of a joke before the character even says it.
Oh, that's so true.
You aren't really listening. You're verifying. You read the words, "I love you," and then you just wait to hear a sound that vaguely matches it.
So it's a confirmation bias loop. You're just confirming what you already know rather than discovering the information through sound.
Precisely.
You're essentially just doing a reading exercise with some background noise.
Exactly. When that text is gone, you have to do all the processing in real time without that cheat sheet. And that creates a processing lag. Your brain is scrambling to catch up, and that lag creates anxiety.
Which makes it even worse.
Makes it so much worse. As we know from educational psychology, high anxiety shuts down the language centers of the brain. It's what we call the affective filter. If you're panicked, you're not absorbing anything. You're just in survival mode.
But here's the promise, right? This is why we're talking about this. Watching without subtitles is, well, it's identified as one of the absolute best ways to bridge that gap between classroom English and natural English.
It is the bridge.
It's the only way to really get over that hump.
It is. I mean, in a classroom, the teacher enunciates. They speak like this.
They separate their words.
They separate their words. They use standard grammar. In a movie, people mumble, they shout, they interrupt each other. They use connected speech where words just bleed into one another. What are you going to do becomes what you're gonna do.
What you're gonna do, yeah.
If you can master movie listening, you are ready for real conversations. You are ready for the messy, beautiful reality of English.
So we need to get comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But we can't just dive into the deep end without a life jacket.
No, absolutely not.
One of the biggest mistakes I see, and I have definitely done this, is picking the wrong movie to start with.
The number one mistake.
You think, okay, I want to learn English, so I'm going to watch the latest Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Or, a gritty crime thriller.
Yeah.
Because that's what's popular and that's what my friends are talking about.
And that is a recipe for disaster. It really is. And it's the number one reason people try this once, fail, and then just give up.
They pick a blockbuster action movie or something very slang heavy. Let's break down why that fails so badly. It's not just about the difficulty of the words, it's about the sound engineering.
Yes. The audio mix. In a modern action movie, the sound mixing is designed for a cinema experience. It's designed to shake the seats. The dynamic range is huge, the explosions are deafeningly loud, and then the dialogue is often whispered or muttered for dramatic effect or realism.
Oh, that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
The directors want it to feel gritty.
They do.
You have the hero hanging off a helicopter, the wind is howling, the score is blasting, and he whispers something cool to his sidekick.
And you can't hear it.
Even I, as a native speaker, sometimes have to rewind those parts. I am literally grabbing the remote to turn the volume way up for the talking and then frantically turning it down for the shooting.
Exactly. So if a native speaker struggles to hear the dialogue over the sound effects, a learner has absolutely no chance. You are setting yourself up to fail. You are trying to learn the nuance of vowel sounds while a building is collapsing in the background. It's impossible.
And that's before we even get to the slang.
Don't even get me started on the slang. Or period-specific language. If you watch a movie about street gangs in 1920s London, or a sci-fi movie with made-up technical jargon about warp drives and flux capacitors.
Yeah, reroute the plasma conduit.
You're dealing with vocabulary that you will never, ever use in real life. It just creates unnecessary friction. It's a waste of brain power.
So we need to lower the bar to raise our skills. We need to be strategic. So what are the golden genres? If I'm an intermediate learner, B2 level, what should I be searching for tonight on my streaming service?
Okay, we have identified 4 categories that are the absolute gold standard for listening practice.
Okay.
The first, and honestly, probably the best, is romantic comedies.
The rom-com. Okay, I know some people roll their eyes at them.
They do.
They can be cheesy, they can be formulaic. But hear us out. Why are they so good for English acquisition?
Well, think about the structure of a rom-com. Boy meets girl, they like each other, there's a misunderstanding.
The big fight in the middle.
The big fight. They break up, they get back together. The structure is incredibly predictable. You know the rhythm of the story almost instinctively.
You know exactly what is going to happen before it happens. You know they are going to kiss in the rain at the end. It's a given.
And that is a huge cognitive advantage for a learner, because your brain isn't working overtime to figure out who the killer is or what the complex plot twist means.
Right.
It can focus entirely on the language. You aren't solving a puzzle, you're just observing a relationship unfold.
That's a great point about cognitive load. If I'm not stressing about the plot, I have more brain power available for the grammar and the vocabulary.
Exactly.
I can focus on how they're saying something because I already have a pretty good idea of what they're doing.
Precisely. And also, rom-coms are almost entirely dialogue-driven. It's just people talking.
Yeah, lots of talking.
They're talking in coffee shops, talking in parks, talking at dinner. The audio is usually very clear. The music is usually some soft background jazz, or it doesn't compete with the voices. And the faces are well lit, so you can see their lips moving.
Oh, the visual cues are huge. Being able to see the mouth shape helps the brain decode the sound.
It really does.
If you're watching a dark, moody thriller where everyone is in shadows, you completely lose that lip-reading advantage.
You lose so much data.
Okay, so rom-coms are king. They're conversation-heavy, not explosion-heavy. What's the second genre on the list?
Family movies. And I don't just mean cartoons, although we will definitely get to those. I mean movies that are designed for a general audience.
Like live-action family films.
Exactly. Think of things like the early Harry Potter films or the Chronicles of Narnia, the first ones specifically.
Why the early ones? Is it because the characters are younger and the language is simpler?
Yes. Because the protagonists are children, and the target audience includes children, the language reflects that. It's sophisticated enough to be interesting. It's not baby talk by any means. But the characters tend to speak very clearly and articulate their words much better than in a gritty, R-rated drama.
And the themes are universal too.
Completely. Bravery, family, school struggles. You aren't dealing with complex legal jargon or medical terminology.
Right. You don't need to know the word for subpoena or intravenous. You just need to know magic and school and friend. It's everyday language, just heightened slightly for the fantasy setting.
Third on the list, simple dramas. And I want to emphasize the word simple. We want to avoid high-concept sci-fi or complex political thrillers.
Okay.
Look for human stories. A movie about a teacher inspiring a class or a story about a family reunion. Again, the focus here is on interpersonal communication. The emotions are clear and the language follows the emotion.
So something like The Pursuit of Happiness or Wonder. Stories about real people dealing with relatable problems.
Exactly. Because the situations are relatable, the language is usually high frequency. It is the kind of language you might actually use if you were talking about your own life.
And the fourth one. I think this is a secret weapon for a lot of people.
It really is. Animated films, Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, you name it.
Some adults feel silly watching these alone. They think, oh, cartoons are for kids. But linguistically, they are pure gold.
They are absolute gold. First of all, just think about how they're made. The voice acting is recorded in a perfect soundproof booth.
Right, there's no background noise.
No traffic, no wind, no accidental microphone bumps. Every single word is crystal clear because the actors are focused entirely on their vocal performance. They are literally acting with their voices.
That's true. In a live-action movie, an actor might mumble a line to be method or to feel real. In animation, if you mumble, the joke doesn't land. The animators need that clear audio to animate the mouths properly.
Exactly. And secondly, the animation itself is designed to be incredibly expressive. If a character is sad, their whole body droops. If they're happy, they literally jump for joy. The visual context matches the spoken word perfectly. It's almost like a living, breathing visual dictionary.
Plus, in animation, the lip syncing is often slightly exaggerated to make it more readable. So if you're at that B2 level and you want to start ditching subtitles, maybe queue up Toy Story or Finding Nemo or Inside Out before you even think about trying to watch Inception.
Definitely. Clear speech leads to faster progress. It's all about building confidence, not destroying it. If you can understand 90% of a Pixar movie without subtitles, that is a huge win. That confidence will carry you over to the harder stuff later on. You need to prove to yourself that you can do it.
Okay, so we've picked our movie. Let's say we're going with a nice, predictable rom-com. We have our snacks ready. Now, how do we actually watch it? Do we just turn the subtitles off and, hope for the best?
No, that is the cold turkey approach, and it usually leads to frustration and failure.
I've tried that. It does not work.
You might last 5 minutes before you get completely lost and just turn them back on, feeling defeated.
Right.
Instead, we recommend a much more strategic approach. We call it the 3-step subtitle method. And this transforms movie watching from passive entertainment into active, focused training.
This is interesting because it does require a bit more time, doesn't it? It's not just sitting back with popcorn and zoning out for 2 hours.
It is a workout. You have to treat it like a gym session for your ears, but the payoff is absolutely massive.
Okay, walk us through step 1.
Step 1 is the context watch. You watch a short segment, and I mean short, maybe 5 to 10 minutes, not the whole movie.
Okay, just one scene.
Just one scene.
Yeah.
And you watch it with English subtitles turned on.
Wait, I thought the goal was to ditch them. Why are we starting with them on?
Because you can't listen for sounds if you don't know the meaning. If you don't know what's happening in the story, your brain is just hearing noise. The purpose of step 1 is to understand exactly what is happening. You read the dialogue, you get the jokes, you understand the plot points. You are removing the anxiety of what is going on.
So you're priming the brain. You're giving it a roadmap. You're telling your brain, okay, in this scene, they're going to argue about who forgot to buy milk.
Exactly. You establish the context, you build the mental map of the scene, you know who the characters are, you know their relationship, you know the conflict. Once you've done that, once you have that foundation, you are ready for step 2.
Okay, what's step 2?
Step 2 is the listening watch. You rewind that same 5-minute scene, and now you turn the subtitles off.
Okay, this is the scary part.
Yeah.
This is where the training wheels come off the bike.
It is, but it's much, much less scary because you just watched it. You know they are arguing about milk. You know the woman is going to yell at the end. Because you know the meaning, your brain is now free to focus 100% on the sound.
That's a great distinction.
You aren't trying to decode the plot. You are trying to match the sounds you're hearing to the words you recall reading just moments before in step 1.
It totally switches your focus from what does this mean to, oh, so that's what that word sounds like. You aren't multitasking anymore.
Precisely. You might realize, oh, when I read it, it said, what are you doing? But when I hear it, it sounds like, what you doing? You can only make that crucial connection because you already know the line is, what are you doing? If you hadn't done step 1, you might just hear, what you're doing, and be completely confused.
It's like having the answer key to a test, studying it, and then taking the test immediately.
It is.
You're training your ears to recognize the messy reality of spoken English, specifically that connected speech you mentioned earlier. You're actively mapping the sound to the text that's now in your short-term memory.
Yes. You are training your brain to hear the boundaries between words that aren't actually there in the sound wave. You are calibrating your hearing. You are tuning your ear to the frequency of natural speech.
Okay, so that's 2 watches of the same scene.
Yeah.
And then comes step 3. What's that?
Step 3 is the correction watch.
Okay.
This is where you catch what you missed. You watch the scene a 3rd time, turning the subtitles back on. But, and this is important, you only look at them for the specific parts where you were lost in step 2.
So this is like troubleshooting for your ears.
Yes, exactly. It's targeted practice.
Yeah.
If there was a sentence in step 2 where you thought, I still have no idea what he mumbled there, you check in step 3. You see the word on the screen, you hear the mumble at the same time, and you make the connection.
Okay, he swallowed the T in that word.
Exactly that. It reinforces the specific gaps in your hearing. It turns a frustrating guess into a known fact, a learning moment.
I love this because it turns a passive activity into a really active workout. But I can hear our listeners thinking, I do not have time to watch a whole 2-hour movie 3 times. That would take 6 hours.
And you shouldn't. You should never, ever do this with a whole film in one sitting. You will burn out, your brain will get tired, and you'll hate it.
So what's the solution?
Do this with one scene. Pick one interaction, one conversation. It takes, maybe 15 minutes in total?
So you could watch the rest of the movie normally for enjoyment, but maybe you pick just the first scene to do this deep work on.
Exactly. Or find a clip on YouTube of a movie you love. The point is not to ruin the movie watching experience, but to carve out a small, manageable slice of time for intense, focused practice.
We'll get more into the timing and consistency later, but I want to touch on something you mentioned about the mumble or the missed word.
Yeah.
There's a specific mindset shift we really need to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of learners feel like if they don't catch every single word, every V, at, and if, that they're failing. They really beat themselves up about it.
That is the perfectionist trap, and it is absolutely fatal for developing listening skills. We need to completely shift the goalpost. Your goal is not 100% word-for-word dictation. You are not a court reporter.
Okay, so what is the goal?
Your goal is 70 to 80% comprehension.
70 to 80%. That feels, I don't know, it feels low. If I got 70% on a math test, I wouldn't be thrilled. I think I barely passed.
It feels low to a student who is used to getting graded on tests. I get that. But in the real world, language isn't math. It is an organic, fluid exchange. 80% is fluency. If you understand the story, if you get the emotion, if you know what the characters are generally doing and why you are winning.
And the truth is, and I think learners forget this all the time, even native speakers don't hear 100%.
We absolutely do not. Think about it. If we're in a noisy bar or watching a movie with a terrible audio mix, we miss words all the time.
All the time.
But we don't panic. We don't stop the conversation and say, sorry, did you say a or the in that sentence?
No, of course not.
We just use context to fill in the gaps. We don't even realize we were doing it. Our brains just do it automatically.
Context is king.
Yeah.
There's a great example of this regarding, of all things, a salt shaker.
Yeah.
Can you explain that scenario?
Right. So imagine a dinner scene in a movie. A character points to a shaker on the table and says, "Pass the muffled sound."
Okay.
You didn't hear the word clearly. Maybe a chair scraped the floor at that exact moment. Maybe the actor mumbled it. But you see him pointing directly to the salt. You see the other person pick up the salt shaker and hand it to him. Your brain instantly fills in the gap. He said salt.
So you didn't hear salt, but you understood salt.
And that is the skill you need to build. It's called tolerance for ambiguity. If you have subtitles on, you just read the word salt and you never ever practice that gap-filling muscle. You never have to guess. If you turn them off, your brain is forced to look at the visual cues, the pointing finger, the object on the table, and connect it to the audio data it received. That is how you learn to process language in the real world. You use all the data available, not just the data from your ears.
So if you're watching a movie without subtitles and you miss a word, the advice is don't pause immediately.
Yeah.
Just keep watching for 2 more seconds. Usually the context explains it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let it ride. If the character looks angry and the other person looks shocked, you know it was some kind of insult. You don't need to know the exact adjective to follow the plot.
Yeah.
Trust your brain's ability to connect the dots. You do this in your native language every single day without thinking. You just need to trust that you can do it in English, too.
This actually brings us to another huge benefit of watching movies, which is vocabulary acquisition. But not just any vocabulary. We aren't looking for academic words like nevertheless or consequently.
Yeah.
You are never going to hear those in a rom-com.
No, movies are the best place to learn what we call high-frequency emotional phrases. These are the short scripts or chunks that native speakers use constantly to react to things.
Okay.
They don't carry a lot of, dictionary information, but they carry a lot of feeling. They're the glue of natural conversation.
Some examples come to mind immediately. Phrases like, what's going on?
What's going on is a classic. You will hear it in almost every movie you ever watch. It sets the scene, it signals confusion, chaos, curiosity, and it is so much more natural than saying, "What is happening?" or "Please explain the situation."
Right. Nobody says that. Another one is, are you serious?
Oh, are you serious? I can't believe it. You've got to be kidding. Think about those 3 phrases. They all mean roughly the same thing, shock or disbelief.
Yeah.
But they are used constantly. Textbooks rarely teach these with the weight they deserve. They might teach you the phrase, "I am surprised."
But nobody says, I am surprised when their car gets stolen. They say, you have got to be kidding me.
Exactly. And the delivery matters too, which is what you get from movies. In a film, you hear the frustration in that line. You hear the sarcasm. You hear the pitch change. Textbooks can't teach pitch.
Right. Or take a phrase like, get out of here. If I just read that on paper, it means, leave this room.
Yes, it's a direct command.
But in spoken English, if your friend tells you they just won the lottery, you say, get out of here, with a huge smile on your face. It means, wow, that is amazing. But if someone insults you, you say, get out of here, with a scowl. It means, I don't believe you, or don't be ridiculous. Movies teach you that nuance because you have the visual and the audio context perfectly combined.
That is so true. You see the smile on the actor's face, you hear the rising intonation in their voice, and you realize the words don't mean their literal dictionary definition. And once you start listening for these specific, short, repeatable phrases, you enter a really wonderful, positive feedback loop. You learn, are you serious? In one movie. Then you watch a totally different movie the next night, and you hear it again. Your brain goes, aha, I know that one.
Right. I recognize that.
That little dopamine hit of recognition builds so much confidence. You stop feeling lost and you start feeling like an insider who gets the code.
It's pattern recognition. So instead of trying to learn every single rare word, you're focusing on the phrases that pop up every 10 minutes.
Exactly. If a character uses a rare scientific word to describe a warp drive, ignore it. You don't need it.
Let it go.
But if a character says, hang on a second, learn that, you will use that tomorrow. You will use it in a meeting, at a coffee shop, on the phone. It's useful language.
I want to talk about the mechanics of this practice. We mentioned the 3-step method, and we talked a little bit about pausing, but there is a real danger in pausing too much, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely.
I remember when I first tried to read books in a foreign language, I would stop at every single word I didn't know to look it up in a dictionary. I would get through maybe 1 page in an hour, and I absolutely hated it.
And did you keep reading?
No. I eventually just stopped. It was too painful.
That is the quickest way to kill your motivation. It turns a fun, enjoyable activity into a horrible chore. It just sucks the joy right out of it. And the same applies to movies. We call it the pause smart rule.
Okay, so how do we pause smart? What's the right balance?
You should only pause if a phrase repeats often and you still don't get it, or if something feels absolutely crucial to the plot and you are totally, completely lost without it.
So if two characters are just having some small talk about the weather and you miss a sentence, the advice is to just keep going.
Keep going. Do not break the flow. Language has a rhythm, a melody. If you stop every 30 seconds, you are chopping that melody into disconnected noise. You lose the emotional arc of the scene.
That's a good point.
Imagine watching a comedy and pausing right before the punchline lands to look up a word. You kill the humor. You kill the timing. And if you kill the enjoyment, you will stop practicing. You have to enjoy the process for it to be sustainable.
So prioritizing flow over precision is actually better for long-term learning.
Absolutely. It is so much better to watch a 10-minute scene comfortably and understand 70% of it than to watch 1 minute, analyze it to death for an hour, and be completely exhausted and frustrated at the end. You want to train your brain to handle continuous, uninterrupted input.
Which brings us back to the frequency of practice. You mentioned earlier, don't watch a whole movie 3 times. So what does a good study schedule look like for a busy person with a job and a family?
The golden rule of language learning, and honestly this applies to any skill acquisition, is consistency over intensity.
Right.
A little every day is infinitely better than a massive binge-watching session once a week.
The gym analogy works perfectly here, doesn't it?
It really does.
You can't go to the gym for 5 hours on Sunday and do nothing the rest of the week and expect to get fit. You'll just be sore and you won't want to go back.
Exactly. Your muscles need regular stimulus to grow. Your listening ear is a muscle. It needs to adapt to the speed and rhythm of English. If you do 15 minutes a day, maybe one scene over breakfast or one YouTube video using the 3-step method, your brain stays in English mode.
15 minutes is so manageable. Everyone has 15 minutes. You can do it on your commute on the bus or while you're cooking dinner.
And if you try to do a 2-hour movie session on Saturday, by next Saturday, your brain has completely cooled down. You've forgotten the rhythm. The neural pathways you started to build haven't been reinforced, but 15 minutes daily keeps that connection live and active. You will find that after just 2 weeks of daily 15-minute practice, your processing speed increases noticeably. You'll start catching words you used to miss.
And practically speaking, this means you don't need to sit down for a formal movie night. You can just watch a clip.
Yes, YouTube is an incredible resource for this. Netflix is great for this. Just find a clip from a movie you like. Apply the 3-step method. Done. You have done your workout for the day. You can tick that box and feel good about it.
I love that. It really takes the pressure off. You aren't trying to conquer Titanic without subtitles in one sitting. You are just trying to understand this one conversation between Jack and Rose on the deck of the ship.
Precisely. Small, consistent wins build big fluency. You stack those wins up day after day over months, and then one day you realize you're watching whole movies without even thinking about it.
So let's just recap what we have covered so far, because this is a really comprehensive strategy. We've gone over a lot of ground.
Sure. Let's break it down into the key pillars. First, the foundation. Choose the right material.
Right.
Avoid the mumbling action heroes and the gritty crime dramas. Go for romantic comedies, family movies, and animation where the speech is clear and the context is super visual. Set yourself up for success from the very beginning.
Okay, that's pillar 1. Then second, the technique. The 3-step subtitle method.
Yes. Watch with text to get the context and lower your anxiety. Watch without text to train your ear. Then watch with text again to troubleshoot the specific gaps. It is a systematic way to work out your listening muscle.
Pillar 3, the mindset. Accept the 70-80% rule.
This is a big one. Don't be a perfectionist. Let context fill the gaps, just like you do in your native language. Be comfortable with not knowing everything.
And fourth, vocabulary. Hunt for those high-frequency emotional phrases.
And finally, number 5, the mechanics. Pause smart, don't kill the flow, and aim for 15 minutes of consistency every single day.
Make it a habit, not an event.
It sounds so doable when you break it down like that. It's not magic, it's just a system, a smart system.
It is simply exposure plus smart practice. There is no special talent required here. I think a lot of learners fall into the trap of thinking, oh, I'm just bad at listening.
I hear that all the time. You are not bad at listening. You are just untrained. You have likely spent 90% of your English learning time reading and writing. You just need to rebalance the scale. You need to put in the reps for your ears.
And the end goal, the destination, is pretty amazing to think about.
It is. The destination is that day when you sit down on the couch, you press play on a movie, and maybe 10 or 15 minutes later you realize, wait a second, I didn't turn the subtitles on.
And you didn't even notice.
You didn't even notice, you were just watching the movie. That is true fluency. It's when the language becomes invisible and you're just enjoying the story.
That is the dream. That is where we want everyone listening to get to. And I want to leave our listeners with a final thought to chew on. Something that really struck me when I started ditching subtitles in my own language learning journey.
Okay, what is that?
Think about what you are missing when you look down at the bottom of the screen. Acting isn't just voices, it's micro-expressions. It's a tiny twitch of an eye, a slight sarcastic smile, a nervous hand gesture. If your eyes are glued to the bottom 10% of the screen reading text, you are literally missing half of the performance. You are reading a book that just happens to have audio playing in the background.
That is a really profound point. You're missing the subtext. The actor might be saying the words, I'm fine, but their eyes are saying, I'm heartbroken. If you're just reading the text, I'm fine, you might miss the irony completely. You might miss the entire point of the scene.
Exactly. You might miss the joke or the tragedy or the suspense. So taking the subtitles off isn't just about learning English. It is about actually seeing the movie the way the director intended you to see it. You get the full experience. You get the art.
I couldn't agree more. It deepens the artistic appreciation while it sharpens your language skills. It's a total win-win.
So here is your challenge, listener. Today, not tomorrow, not next week, today, find 15 minutes. Pick a scene from a favorite movie, maybe one you've already seen before so it's less scary, and just try it.
Just for 15 minutes.
Turn those subtitles off. Let it feel weird. Let it feel a little too fast at first. But stick with it. Use the 3-step method we talked about.
Trust the process. Your ears are so much smarter than you think they are. You just have to give them a chance to work.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of ESL Listening Practice. We hope this unlocks a whole new world of entertainment and education for you. Keep listening, keep watching, and we will catch you next time.